Good morning, good morning, good morning. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect on a beautiful Saturday, September the 4th of 2021. Now it's very rare that I come live. Normally I do it Monday and Tuesday, but this is necessary. And why I say it's necessary? Because someone had brought a question to me on my post about what is fake science and fake degrees. And I gave commentaries that why is it that people who are fake doctors and who have fake degrees gain more notoriety than the ones who are actual doctors and who have the actual degrees. And so I guess the person didn't really understand or get where I was coming from with that statement. So I just want to bring some definition to the light, and it kind of ties into a lot of things that going on in the world. It ties into the concept about these anti-vaxxers and their conspiracy reason for not getting vaccinated. It also goes into the concept of people who proclaim to be doctors that we're familiar with, especially those personality individual that we worship or that our people worship. And also it goes into it goes into the legitimacy of accreditation about degrees and whatnot. It's so easy for people to say they got degrees in this and degrees in that. Okay, so for me, I'm very familiar with these things with multiple individuals. So multiple individuals have claimed the titles and have claimed they have degrees, and they have been called out for their fraudulent work and giving out bogus things. And so one of the things that these fake doctors or people who have these artificial degrees or artificial titles, one of the things they know how to do is gravitate to people vulnerability. And that's through the concept of medicine. So let's say somebody has some type of issue with diabetes and whatnot. You will have individuals say, well, there's a cure for diabetes. Well, is there a cure? Then where is the clinical research behind it? Where's the legitimate medicine? Have you ever gone through the process of getting the FDA approved? Have you went through clinical trials? So how you know there's a cure? Now, here's one thing, and good morning, brother Umi. Now, one thing about me, I'm not against home remedy because I grew up on home remedy, okay? Now, certain home remedy works. Certain home remedy helps, all right? I grew up taking castor oil and cod liver oil. That helps because cod liver oil helps clear the mucus up, and castor oil does the cleansing of your inside, that way you can be able to go to the bathroom. So some home remedy works, but not all of them are accurate. Not all of them are going to work, especially when you have an aggressive disease, such as the COVID and Delta variant. Or if you have any type of deadly disease, it's not going to always work. It's not going to always be efficient. Okay? So I just want to go ahead and get started. So as you can see, the title today is going to be about quackery and diploma mill. So let's go and find out, what is quackery? What does it mean when somebody say quackery or quack science? Now, for those of you that have been tuning in, I know you hear the pseudo killers always talk about pseudoscience a lot. And that's the reason why they do talk about that in particularly. Because at this day and age, especially when there is serious health crisis going on, you have to be very aware because people's lives can be put at risk and can be put in danger. So that's why you hear so many people like the pseudo killers, the Amara Squad, always going in about pseudoscience, because it's really out there and it's really putting people in danger. And I'm about to show you why. All right, let's look at this. Quackery. Now, what is quackery? Now we gotta go into the introduction. So quackery often synonymous with health fraud is the promotion of fraudulent of ignorant medical practices. A quack is a fraudulent or ignorant pretender to medical skills, or a person who pretends professionally or publicly to have skill, knowledge, qualification, or credential they do not possess, a charlatan or snake oil salesman. The term quack is a clip form of the archaic term quackslaver from Dutch, a hawker or slave. In the Middle Ages, the term quack meant shouting. The quack slavers sold their wares on the market shouting in a loud voice. Common elements of general quackery include questionable diagnosis, using questionable diagnostic tests, as well as untested or refuted treatments, especially for serious disease such as cancer. Quackery is often described as health fraud with the silent characteristic of aggressive promotion. Does that all sound familiar? It sounds very familiar to me, but let's continue. All right, let's go down. It says definition. Stephen Barrett of Quackwatch defines quackery as the promotion of unsubstantiated methods that lack a scientifically plausible, rational, and more broadly as anything involving over promotion in the field of health. This definition would include questionable ideas as well as questionable products and services, regardless of the sincerity of their promoters. In line with this definition, the word fraud would be reserved only for a situation in which deliberate deception is involved. In addition to the ethical problems of promising benefits that cannot reasonably be expected to occur, quackery also includes the risk that patients may choose to forego treatments that are more likely to help them in favor of effective treatments given by the quack. Paul Offit has proposed 4 ways in which alternative medicines becomes quackery. By recommending against conventional therapies that are helpful. 2, by promoting potentially harmful therapies without adequate warning. 3, by draining patients' bank accounts. 4, by promoting magical thinking. By promoting magical thinking. Ain't that interesting? All right, let's go ahead and continue. So, since it is difficult to distinguish between those who knowingly promote unproven medical therapies and those who are mistaken as to their effectiveness, United States courts have ruled in defamation cases that accusing someone of quackery or calling a petitioner a quack is not equivalent to accusing that person of committing medical fraud. To be both quackery and fraud, the quack must know they are misrepresenting the benefits and risks of the medical services offered instead. For example, promoting an effective product they honestly believe is effective. All right. So let's go down where it says quack salver or slaver. Unproven, usually ineffective, and sometimes dangerous medicine and treatments have been peddled throughout human history. Theoretical performances were sometimes given to enhance the credibility of purported medicine. Grandiose claims were made for what could be humble materials indeed. For example, in the mid-19th century, Revelita Arabica Arabica was advertised as having extraordinary restorative virtues as an empirical diet for invalids. Despite its impressive name and many glowing testimonials, it was In truth, only ordinary lentil flour sold to the gullible at many times the true cost. So I know you guys have seen a lot of this. When you watch some of these commercials, and I know I have, it makes me laugh. And one of the commercials I have seen was about the miracle water. The miracle water is supposed to be a donation of $50. So for the donation of $50, you get this miracle water. And what type of miracle does this water produce? Oh, I'll do you another one. People who have been claimed to be sick. And here comes some preacher saying something in tongue, or reciting something in tongue, or reciting a biblical scripture, and a person all of a sudden they supposed to be healed. They supposed to be healed. They supposed to be a lot better. They could be able to move around. It's unbelievable. It's very unbelievable. But this is the prosperity pimps. And oh, they're not just in churches either. They're outside of the churches. And I can go on and name the list of individuals who claim to be doctors, who claim to have cure for medicines, cure for disease. But I think people will get the general idea. I'm quite sure many people can name some. But I'm going to say this. You're going to come across those who claim it. But I'm only putting this information out so you'll be able to read it for yourself. You'll be able to read it for yourself, and then you'll be able to know how to spot certain individuals and what kind of questions to ask. It's amazing. But let's continue. Even where no fraud was intended, quack remedies often contain no effective ingredients whatsoever. All right. Some remedies contain substance as opium, alcohol, and honey, which would have given symptomatic relief but had no curative properties. Some would have addictive qualities to entice the buyer to return. The few effective remedies sold by quacks included emetic, laxative, and diuretics. Some ingredients did have medical effects. Mercury, silvers, and arsenic compounds may have helped some infection and infestation. Willow bark contain salicylic acid, chemical closely related to aspirin. The quinine contains the jasawet bark, was an effective treatment for malaria and other fevers. However, knowledge of appropriate uses and dosage was limited. And oh, did you guys know? I didn't believe this to be true, but many people don't know that a long time ago, when there was a medicine practice, when there was surgery, when they first started doing surgery on people, right? Or doing all these surgical procedures, that the doctors didn't even wash their hands. They didn't wash their hands before and after the surgery was done. They didn't wash their hands. And that led to cross-contamination. And that was dangerous. But at one point in time, when there was a operation that needed to be performed, doctors didn't wear gloves and they did not wash their hands. And they believed that they didn't have to, until they started seeing that they were getting sick and they was passing it on to other people or whatever that person had. Then they start realizing, okay, it is important to wash your hand and it's important to sanitize and wear gloves. All right. All right, but let me go ahead. So let's go down to real fast. The history in Europe and the United States. All right, so I just want to read this. Well, I'll read this. I'll read the second paragraph right here. It says 1909. In an attempt to stop the sale of quack medicine, the British Medical Association published secret remedies, what they cost and what they contain. This publication was originally a series of articles published in the British medical journals between 1904 and 1909. The publication was composed of 20 chapters organizing the work by sessions, according to the alignments the medicines claimed to treat. Each remedy was tested thoroughly, the preface stated. Of the accuracy of the analytical data, there can be no question. The investigation has been carried out with great care by a skilled analytical chemist. The book did lead to the end of some of the quack cures, but some survived the book by several decades. For example, Beecham's Beecham pills, which according to the British Medical Association contain in 1909 only aloes, ginger and soap, but claimed to cure 31 medical conditions, were sold until 1998. Wow, that's a long time. Okay. Then it goes on to say British patent medicines lost their dominance in the United States when they were denied access to the 13 colonies markets during the American Revolution, and lost further ground for the same reason during the War of 1812. From the early 19th century, homegrown American brands started to fill the gap, reaching their peak in the years after the American Civil War. British medicines never regained their previous dominance in North America, and the subsequent era of mass marketing of American patent medicines is usually considered to have been a golden age, quote unquote, of quackery in the United States. This was mirrored by similar growth in the marketing of quack medicines elsewhere in the world. So now, right here, in the United States, false medicines in this era were often denoted by the slang term snake oil, a reference to sell pitches for the false medicine that claimed exotic ingredients provided the supposed benefits. Those who sold them were called snake oil salesmen and usually sold their medicines with a fervent pitch similar to a fire and brimstone religious sermon. They often accompanied other theoretical and entertainment production that traveled as a road show from town to town, leaving quickly before the falseness of their medicine was discovered. Not all quacks were restricted to such small time businesses. However, a number, especially in the United States, became enormously wealthy through national and international sales of their products. And then go down here, it says in 1875, the Pacific Medical and Surgical Journal complained, if Satan has ever succeeded in compressing a greater amount of concentrated mendacity into one set of human bodies above every other description, it is in the advertising quacks. The coolness and the liberation with which they announce the most glaring falsehoods are really appalling. A recent arrival in San Francisco, whose name might indicate that he had his origin in the Patine marshes of Europe, announces himself as the late examining physician of the Massachusetts Infirmary, Boston. This fellow has the impudence to publish that his charge to physician in their own cases is $5. Another genius in Philadelphia of the bogus diploma breed, who claimed to have founded a new system of practice and who called himself a professor, advertised two Eslers of his own make. one of which is for all male diseases and the other for all female diseases. In the list of preparation which this witch advertises for sale as the result of his own labors and discovery is ozone. Pacific Medical and Surgical Journal, reprinted in the Boston Medical and Surgical Journal, volume 91, page 373. But let's go ahead and let's go down right here now in contemporary culture. In contemporary culture, check this out. Quackery is most often used to denote the peddling of the cure-alls described above, which is going up. Quackery is the promotion of false and unproven health schemes for profit. You got that part. It is rooted in the tradition of the marketplace with commercialism overwhelming professionalism in the market of alternative medicine, right? Quackery continues even today. It can be found in any culture, in every medical tradition. Keyword, it can be found in any culture, in every medical tradition. Unlike other advertising mediums, rapid advancement in communication through the internet have opened doors for an unregulated market of quack cures and marketing campaigns, reviving the early 20th century. Most people with an email account have experienced the marketing tactics of spamming, in which modern forms of quackery are touted as miraculous remedies for weight loss and sexual enhancement, as well as outlets for medicines of unknown quality. It says, while quackery is often aimed at the aged or chronically ill, it can be aimed at all age groups, including teenagers. And the FDA has mentioned some areas where potential quackery may be a problem: breast developers, weight loss, steroids, growth hormones, tanning and tanning pills, hair growth, hair removal and growths, and lookalike drugs. Sound all too familiar, right? All right, and I'm going to read this last part right here. Then I'm going to go on to the next. Check this out. It says, in 1992, the president of National Council Against Health Fraud, William T. Jarvis, wrote in Clinical Chemistry that the U.S. Congress determined quackery to be the most harmful consumer fraud against elderly people. American waste $27 billion annually on questionable health care, exceeding the amount spent on biomedical research. Quackery is characterized by the promotion of false and unproven health schemes for profit and does not necessarily involve imposure, fraud, or greed. The real issue in the war against quackery are the principle, including scientific rationale encoded into consumer protection law, primarily the U.S. Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. More such laws are badly needed. Regulators are failing the public by enforcing laws inadequately, applying double standards, and accrediting pseudo-medicine. Non-scientific healthcare, acupuncture, and chiropractic chiropractic, homeopathy, and naturopathy is licensed by individual states. Practitioners use unscientific practices and deception on a public who, lacking complex healthcare knowledge, must rely upon the trustworthiness of providers. Quackery not only harms people, it undermines the scientific enterprise and should be actively opposed by every scientist. But now we're going to look at what is the Food and Drug Administration real fast. So, what's the job of the FDA? The United States Food and Drug Administration is a federal agency of the Department of Health and Human Services. The FDA is responsible for protecting and promoting public health through the control and supervision of food safety, tobacco products, dietary supplements, prescription and over-the-counter pharmaceutical drugs, vaccine, biopharmaceutical, blood transfusion, medical devices, electromagnetic radiation, emitting devices, cosmetic, animal foods and feed, and veterinary products. Okay, that's what they're responsible for. They're responsible for making sure that people are secured and what the products that are being put out or being distributed for people's health concern is protected and is promoted correctly. They look to make sure that it's validated and there's no type of error in the medicine or any of the food products. That's what they're responsible for. All right. So let's go down here. All right. All right, so I'm just going to look at the first three things over here. All right, precedent and acceptance. There have been several suggestions reasons why quackery is accepted by patients in spite of its lack of effectiveness. Ignorance. Those who perpetuate quackery may do so to take advantage of ignorance about conventional medicine treatment versus alternative treatments, or may themselves be ignorant in regards to their own claim. And placebo effect. Medicines or treatments known to have no pharmacological effect on a disease can still affect a person's perception of their illness, and this belief in it in its turn does indeed sometimes have a therapeutic effect, causing the patient's condition to improve. This is not to say that no real cure of biological illness is effective. Though we might describe a placebo effect as being all in the mind, we now know that there is a genuine neurobiological basis to this phenomenon. Okay. Regression fallacy. Lack of understanding that health condition change with no treatment and attributing changes in alignments to a given therapy. Then you got the confirmation bias, the tendency to search for, interpret, or prioritize information in a way that confirms one's belief or hypothesis is a type of cognitive bias and a systematic error of inductive reasoning. All right, so this is the multiple reason why people accept the quackery medicine or quack science. All right. So it's more, but let's go ahead and go further down. Now let's look at the person that has been accused of these things. All right. So those who are deceased, you got Thomas Ellison, who was the founder of naturopathy. Okay. Lovisa Alubert. Oh, L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard is the founder of Scientology. Okay. But check this out about L. Ron Hubbard. It's kind of funny that the Nation of Islam follows Scientology, right? But he was an American science fiction writer. He was a former U.S. Navy officer and creator of Dynetics. And what is Dynetics? Let's look at that real fast. Dynetics is a set of ideas, practices regarding the metaphysical relationship between the mind and body created by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard. Dynetics is practiced by followers of Scientology and the Nation of Islam. Damn. Dynetics was originally conceived as a branch of psychiatry, which Hubbard would later despise when various psychoanalysts refused his form of psychotherapy, though it is present as a form of psychological treatment. Dynamics and its core concept, including auditing, and immigrants have been rejected by psychologists and other scientists from the outset and are unsupported by credible evidence. Hmm. Hmm. That's funny, right? That's really funny. But yeah, he's the founder of the Scientology, and it said he has been commonly called a quack and a con man by both critics of Scientology and by many psychiatric organizations, in part for his often extreme anti-psychiatric beliefs and false claims about technologies such as the e-meter. Okay, so check this out. What is the e-meter? The e-meter is an electronic device for displaying the electrodermal activity of human being. The device is used for auditing in Scientology and divergent groups. The efficacy and legitimacy of Scientology use of e-meter has been subject to extensive debate and litigation, and in accordance with a federal court order, the Church of Scientology now publishing disclaimer in its books and publication declaring that the e-meter by itself does nothing and that it is used specifically for spiritual purposes. Oh boy. Oh boy. It get interesting, don't it? But anyways, yep. Ron Herbert and it's so many list of them. Let's see if we can find anybody else on here that we might be familiar with. Nope. All right, but here's one that is living. Anne Louise Gittleman. She published a series of fad diet books that promote pseudoscientific ideas about weight loss, detoxification, electromagnetic radiation. She received a PhD from the now defunct Clayton College of Natural Health, which is known as Diploma Mill, that gives degrees to a number of individuals who went on to be accused of quackery. Wow. But if you guys want to read more into this, you could just type in quackery and spell Quackery. All right. And just type it in Wikipedia and they'll give you all the information. All right. But again, it's a very common place and it can be very dangerous. It can be very dangerous. So please be careful if you come across anybody that seems to be using this type of practice. Ask as many questions as much as possible, because that's one thing people don't like. People don't like when you question them, especially when it comes to their legitimacy about their work. It's important. You must question them at all times. Now we're gonna go into the next one, which is called the Diploma Mill. Let's look at the Diploma Mill. All right. What is a diploma mill? So a diploma mill, also known as degree mill, is a company or organization that claims to be a higher education institute, but provides illegitimate academic degrees and diploma for a fee. The degrees can be fabricated, made up, falsified, or misrepresented, practically useless. These degrees may claim to give credit for relevant life experience, but should not be confused with legitimate prior learning assessment programs. They may also claim to evaluate work history or require submission of a thesis or dissertation for evaluation to give an appearance of authenticity. Diploma mills are frequently supported by accreditation mills set up for the purpose of providing an appearance of authenticity. The term may also be used pejoratively to describe an accredited institute with low academic admission standards and a low job placement rate. And an individual may or may not be aware that the degree they have obtained is not wholly legitimate. In either case, legal issues can arise if the qualification is used in resumes. And that's another way to get caught up. And especially when you look at these I forgot what they call these type of schools, but you see them on the commercials. You see them like Herzing Institute, DeVry University, I think. I don't know the technical terms for them, but they be on the commercials, right? They always commercially advertise. But some of those schools that you go to, you'll come to realize that when you get a degree, those degrees are not accurate. They're not accredited enough. So you can't really get a job in get a particular career with a degree from a place like Herzing University or any other college that's been promoted on these commercials. So all these colleges that tell you, you can get a technical degree within 8 months or within a year or something like that, they're not always legitimate. They're not always legitimate. Those degrees not going to do enough for you. You'll be better off going to an actual 4-year college. Okay? You'll be better off going to the actual, or you can go to a community college. You'll be better off going to a community college or actual 4-year college versus going to the colleges that you see that be on these commercials, advertisement. Because at least when you go to a regular community college and you go into a 4-year college or university, you have a chance of getting a diploma, a diploma that's based on accreditation. And then even with some of the 4-year colleges, some of them have lost their accreditation. So that means if you get a diploma there, you may not be able to get a job or get into a career field because that particular field won't even recognize that school because the school have lost its accreditation. So you will be having a difficult time finding work if that school or if that university have lost its accreditation program. All right. So let me go ahead and let's look at the diploma mills in the United States. All right. A diploma mill. All right, so right here, under legal status. So the United States does not have a federal law that would unambiguously prohibit diploma mills, and the term university is not legally protected. The United States Department of Education lacks direct plenary authority to regulate schools and consequently the quality of an institution degree. Under the terms of the Higher Education Act of 1965, as amended, the U.S. Secretary of Education is required by law to publish a list of nationally recognized accrediting agencies that the Secretary determines to be reliable authorities on the quality of education or training provided by the institution of higher education that they accredit. I'm going to read that again. The U.S. Secretary of Education is required by law to publish a list of nationally recognized accrediting agencies that the Secretary determines to be reliable authorities on the quality of education or training provided by the institution of higher education that they accredit. All right. Diploma mills are mainly found in the U.S. jurisdiction, which have not adopted tough laws to prohibit them. Also, some degree mills have taken advantage of the U.S. Constitution protection of religion by representing themselves as Bible colleges, since in many jurisdictions, religious institutions can legally offer degrees in religious subject without government regulation. Nevertheless, some religious colleges and seminaries have been fined for issuing degrees without meeting educational requirements. And although the dip scam operation in the 1980s led to a decline in diploma mill activity across the United States, the lack of further action by law enforcement, uneven state laws, and the rise of the internet have combined to reverse many of the gains made in previous years. All right. So if you guys want to look up any more information regarding to diploma mills in the United States, you can do so. And here's the information right here. You can find on Wikipedia, and then you can also go down here to the reference. See, go down to the reference page, look at the very bottom. Okay, and then you can look under further reading. All right. So I would like to also give some resources out, some book sources for individuals to read more into. Okay. And the ones that I have, as a matter of fact, I would like to play a video first. Okay, that goes into all of the that expounds on quackery. So I'm gonna play this video real fast. Okay, so this was done by CBS News, all right, that deals with quackery science and the false advertisement of medicine. So let me go ahead and play this video real quick.
Experts are on TV seemingly around the clock offering all kinds of advice. And then Mo Rocca reminds us there are the quacks.
Not only did I create the cure,
a self-described genius entrepreneur with a coronavirus prevention pill arrested by the FBI.
Because you take this pill once a day, you cannot contract the virus.
You're saying that silver solution would be effective.
Televangelist Jim Bakker sued by the state of Missouri to stop promoting Silver Solution, a so-called cure for COVID-19.
Totally eliminate it, kills it, and deactivates it.
Yeah.
They're just two examples of what's considered modern-day medical quackery.
Quack actually originates from the word quacksalver, which is a Middle Dutch word that means somebody who boasts or brags about their salve. So it's someone on the street corner who's hawking their wares.
Dr. Lydia Kang is the co-author of a book on the long history of quackery, which she defines as the promotion of a treatment or cure without a solid scientific basis. In other words, fake medicine. And it's generally thought to have reached its heyday in this country toward the end of the 19th century.
When I hear the word quack, I instantly think snake oil salesman. Why?
So way back when, it was at the end of the 1800s, there was a guy named Clark Stanley who was selling a liniment that he claimed had snake oil in it. And he was saying it was basically could cure everything.
As for what was actually in it,
it had beef fat and pepper and turpentine, but there was no snake oil in it. And he made a ton of money off of it.
But many discredited practices were genuinely considered best practices in their time. For thousands of years, tree panning, the drilling of holes in the head, was used to release evil spirits. And long before the current opioid epidemic, opium, the highly addictive narcotic derived from the opium poppy plant, was a respectable go-to pain reliever.
They used it for everything under the sun. So, if you're having a bad day, you would take some opium. You're nervous, you take some opium. If you have some crying babies at home and you're busy parents trying to go to the factory, you dose them up with some opium.
Heroin, a derivative of opium, was once even sold over the counter by Bayer for sore throats and respiratory ailments. At the opposite end of things, there were equally unscientific remedies.
My gosh, they use so many different things in enemas. Pretty much anything in your kitchen cupboard could go into an enema. So things like milk and honey.
Tell me about the tobacco enema.
You've probably heard of the term blowing smoke up someone's.
Yes, that's where that expression comes from.
In England, for a little while, they were actually used as a means of reviving drowning victims.
And remember mummy eating? You're glad you don't.
One of the weirdest things is that Egyptian mummies were taken from their tombs, stolen, and sold overseas because they were considered this fantastic remedy for everything.
How could you be assured that you were eating a ground up mummy and not just some random?
Wait a minute, they was eating some ground up mummies? Wait a minute, people used to eat ground up mummies?
Guy.
That is true. And so people would sometimes take like dirt and soil and ashes, and they'd be like, oh, this is bona fide real mummy.
Now, lest we mock our benighted forebears too much,
Are there any accepted practices today that might very well be seen as quackery in 50 or 75 years?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. When I was in medical school, there was this saying, which was, half of what we're teaching you here is wrong. We just don't know which half. 50 years from now, the things that I think are going to be really considered right now kind of barbaric are going to be things like the way that we screen for cancers. So, for example, doing a colonoscopy and having to drink that terrible prep and going to get the actual colonoscopy done.
of course, colonoscopies work. They're essential in screening for colon cancer, an important distinction from certain products being pushed today.
And so there's lots of public concern about COVID-19. And so scammers everywhere are including that in whatever they're marketing. And
Dr.
not just
Stephen
in-
Barrett runs
not
the
just-
internet site Quackwatch.
The most dangerous is so-called Miracle Mineral Solution, MMS.
Miracle Mineral Solution is an industrial strength bleach. That's right, bleach that has been falsely promoted as a cure for everything from HIV to malaria and now COVID-19.
The
Bleach? Wait a minute, there's bleach in that product and people are seriously taking it? People are seriously taking this product and it has bleach in it?
FDA pretty much drove the sellers out of the U.S. market.
And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body.
Yet this past Thursday, President Trump wondered out loud whether injecting household disinfectant into the body might kill coronavirus.
Right. And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside?
Medical experts and manufacturers were quick to point out that consuming those products can kill you. In recent weeks, accusations of quackery have been leveled against two of television's most famous docs. Heart surgeon Dr. Mehmet Oz was criticized after hyping the use of the drug hydroxychloroquine as a treatment for COVID-19, when the benefits are far from conclusive.
Well, that's where hydroxychloroquine plays a role. We've been talking about it a lot. That's the malaria drug.
Dr. Oz, that's another one. these TV doctors, you gotta be careful of. Somebody like Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz. And Dr. Phil. That's another one. We got to question Dr. Phil too. But
he has since reversed himself. Dr. Phil McGraw, a former clinical psychologist, incorrectly compared the disease's danger with other causes of death.
45,000 people a year die from automobile accidents, 480,000 from cigarettes, 360,000 a year from swimming pools, but we don't shut the country down for that.
He too backtracked. While the peddlers of quack medicine may have mixed motives, Dr. Lydia Kang says the patients should always be treated with compassion.
And a lot of it really just comes down to fear. People don't want to be sick. They're afraid of being sick. They don't want to get worse. And hope. They want to get better, and they'll look for whatever they can to do so.
For more, join Mo for a live chat on our Facebook page.
all right, I hope you guys enjoyed that part. So that's the brief history of quackery science. Quack, 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 quack. So anytime you want to know what the pseudoscience is when it comes to medicine, especially, just think of the duck saying quack. Think of a duck. Quack, quack, quack. That's what it is, quackery science. Yeah. All right. So now I want to also present some books so people can look for themselves, read up on themselves, for those who are readers and who like to do research and whatnot. So here's this book called The Skeptic, which is Encyclopedia of Pseudoscience. Let's see, I'm trying to see. All right, The Skeptic, Encyclopedia of Pseudoscience. Michael Shermer, that's who's the editor. All right, so it gives you a list of stuff. As a matter of fact, let's go to the table of content. Right, and so it gives you a list of acupuncture is one of them. All right, so and then it talks about alternative medicines versus scientific medicine. So I think this book is very useful. So check it out. It is called the Skeptic Encyclopedia of Pseudoscience. The Skeptic Encyclopedia of Pseudoscience. Just look it up. All right. So I'm gonna leave the title right here. Okay. I also got I got 3 more books. So this one's called The Counter Knowledge. The Counter Knowledge, How We Surrender to Conspiracy Theories, Quack Medicine, Bogus Science, and Fake History. This is all too common. This is all very common. This came out in 2008 by Damian Thompson. counter knowledge, how we surrender to conspiracy theories, quack medicine, and bogus science and fake history. So now what is counter knowledge? So counter knowledge means misinformation packed to look like facts. So that means misinformation that looks like facts, but they're not really facts. All right. So you guys can check that out. Counter knowledge, Damian Thompson. All right. This one's called Bad Science, Quacks, Hacks, and Big Pharma and Flats. Ben Goldacre. Ben Goldacre. Yeah. Bad Science. Bad Science. Boy. Do I have to go there? Nah, I don't even think I have to read on it. Y'all already. I don't think I need to go there about bad science, but check out this book because that goes more into the pseudoscience, the quackery science, the the quack science and all of that. And this one here is called Denying Science. This one's called Denying Science, Conspiracy Theory, Media Distortion, and War Against Reality. That's another book. This book was written by John Grant. John Grant. Okay. And also I have another book. All right, so this one, see if I can. Okay, I'm trying to post the book up, but okay, I can't post this book up, but the name of the book right here. All right, so I have it posted. You might not be able to see it, but this book I strongly recommend. It's called Quackery: Brief History. Hold on, that's not a good one. That one's too small. Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good? What's good, Nat Turner? What's good? About to close it on out, but I hope everything okay with you. All right, here's the name of this book. This book is called Quackery: Brief History of the Worst Way to Cure Everything by Lydia Kane. Okay, so you guys need to check that book out. You can go check it out on Amazon. I know it's hard to see, but it's called Quackery: Brief History of the Worst Ways to Cure Everything by Lydia Kane. Okay. Anyways, so that's all I have for today about the information on Quackery and Diploma Mill. And I hope you guys have a good one. And for those of you that's just coming in to watch, you will have to watch my video from the beginning to see what the subject is about. And you just watch it from the very beginning. Make sure you share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. So anyways, that's the information about Quackery and Diploma Mill. So Quackery, again, is dealing with the medicines that are falsely, well, let's just say the pseudo medicines. Let's just put like that: pseudo medicines and false advertisement and fraudulent information, fraudulent practices. That's quackery. And diploma mills are degrees that are not necessarily legitimate and they are considered to be fake. Okay. So I hope you guys got something out of that. You guys can look up more information for yourselves. All you got to do is just type in the words on Wikipedia, or you can look it up on Google Scholar. You can find books on them. So it's out there. The information is valuable and it's resourceful. All right. So anyway, I'm going to call it a day because I got to get my day started. But I hope you all have a good one, and I'll reconnect with you all later. So with that being said, may peace and power and elevation be to all of you. This is your girl, Tiffany, and I'm logging out. All right. Thank you.